is a little bit, and I don't like missing games because I love playing the game, enjoy the game. And he said, well, I don't want you, your form suffering through injury. And if you take a week off, in 2 or 3 weeks, you're back to your, 100% again. And after he had to talk to me, I said, well, right, let's do it and let's get started again.
That takes care of that. Royce, for a guy who's just had a new addition to the family, you look pretty bright-eyed and bushy-tailed today. Congratulations.
Yes, mate. Very happy. Another little girl called Britt, and even though I missed this week's game, there was something better, in the same week. So that was tremendous.
Royce, getting on to today's game, how do you rate this Brisbane Broncos pack? Balmain have obviously shown the way against the Broncos, and there's a fair amount of similarity between the way the Balmain forwards play and the way the Penrith forwards play. So I guess it's no secret where you expect to win the game today.
Yeah, well, I got no doubt. I think we'll win the game through the forwards, especially with the amount of injuries they got now. You take 3 or 4 players out of any side and you take them out of their forwards, they're going to be a little bit weak, and that's where our strength is. And I think they're going to get sick of seeing Big MG and Cardi and Co keep coming at them all day.
What about this humidity, Royce? How do you think it's terribly muggy up here, isn't it? How do you think it's going to affect your big pack today?
Oh, I don't think it will, mate. Phil's changed the tactics a little bit this week, and I think you're going to see more of the ball in the forwards. And it's we've had 5 or 6 games or more with the Challenge Cup now, and everyone's pretty fit. I don't think it'll knock us around at all. Actually, the conditions are not too bad, I think.
Your record up here at Lang Park, the Penrith Panthers record here, you've only played here twice and you've gone down to the Broncos both times, so I guess today's as good a time as any to change that?
Yeah, it is. Both the times when we have been beaten up here, especially the first year, we were down 18-2 at half-time and come back and led 20-18. They scored with 30 seconds to go, and on that day they had their strongest possible side on the paddock. And I think we've improved a lot since then too, and I don't think they've got the same ability in their side today through injuries as they did in the past.
Do you accept the fact that the Broncos have obviously started a lot slower this year than they normally have, but do you think it's the same sort of side? I mean, obviously the quality players are still there, but there just seems to be something missing. Obviously injuries have played a part, but they haven't started the season at 100 miles an hour like they have in the past.
No, I think it comes back to injuries, but it's pretty hard. I'd hate to take 3 or 4 of the best players out of the Penrith side and sit them up on the bench for today's game, and you take Lewis and Bacco, and Jackson seems to have lost form a little bit, so you've got about 4 or 5 internationals sitting up in the stand, so it's hard to overcome that. I don't care what side you are or where you are.
Royce, one last question to ask you. As one of the top players in the game, are you in favour of in-goal touch judges? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, mate, I suppose if you look back at the end of the year, and if Manly look back and them 2 points cost them a semi-final spot, and maybe you say, geez, blokes have trained all year and played the heart out all year, and because of a misjudgment through error, which we can all make, it cost you 12 months of hard yakka. I'm in favour of anything to try to stop them sort of things happening.
Thanks very much for talking to me today. Good luck with the Panthers, and we'll see you back on deck when?
Next week, mate.
Thanks, Royce. Peter, just before we cross back to you, one small point, a special plea on behalf of the Penrith officials for Paul Taylor, if he's listening. The Penrith Club are waiting for you to come up and sign your contract. Also, Mark Blackburn, who we read has just signed with the Panthers for next week. Both players, Pete, are playing only for match payments, so the club's salary cap is not affected. I just thought I'd clarify that because I'm sure a lot of people around town are trying to work out how the big spending Panthers could keep purchasing players and still keep in their salary cap. Back to you.
Okay, so there it is, a plea for Paul Taylor. Sterlo, do you know where he is?
Mate, I don't. I think he's expected back in the country today, but I'm not sure. I was speaking to one of his mates early in this week, and I think he may be jetting back into the country, if not today, this weekend sometime.
Okay, so any of you people on the Central Coast up there near where Squizzy lives, you can give him a message to get in touch with Penrith and get there quick smart. Okay, there he is, Royce Simmons, who has been stood down today by his coach in Phil Gould. Warren Ryan, a tough decision for Gould to make.
Well, it is a tough one. Royce, their whole game's based around Royce. All their, go forward with the football's based around Royce Simmons' ruck plays, and it's a fairly big step to take on the eve of such a very big game.
It certainly is. Very good afternoon now to Bernie Pramberg here at Lang Park. Good afternoon, Bernie, and great day for football. What's the big news with the Broncos? Still a question mark on Kerrod Walters.
Yes, well, as was the case last week, Peter, they've assembled at the Broncos Leagues Club around about 11:15, and they haven't arrived at the ground yet, the first grade side. But I'd be most surprised if Kerrod Walters takes his place in the side. I was at training yesterday, and it would have taken an overnight miracle for Walters to have got over that ankle injury, and I'm certain that Ray Herring will be the replacement.
Okay, so there it is from Bernie Premberg. So you can take it that will be just about the case this afternoon, unless Kerrod, does make a miraculous recovery overnight. Okay, a very good afternoon to all the people at the Royal Easter Show at the 2GB stand there, and the mobile studio out there at the Royal Easter Show. Very good afternoon to you. Hope you enjoy the footy this afternoon. And Greg, there's a very special rugby league book on sale at the 2GB stands out there that is going very well. And this season, the child of your choice can be playing a game with their first grade rugby league hero. Yep, it's true. We guarantee that any child aged between 6 and 11 can appear personally with their favourite first grade rugby league team. It's not a competition. If you want it to happen, it can happen. Send a stamped, self-addressed envelope to the greatest game of all, Post Office Box 785, Haymarket 2001. 785, Haymarket 2001, and all the necessary details will be sent to you. And the address again, Post Office 785K, Haymarket 2001.
Yes, Peter, you can't buy them at the Royal Easter Show, but certainly that information that you've given them will give those kids an opportunity to be with all the stars. Another star around town at the moment, that's Samsung and Bing Lee. Now, we've been talking lately about how expensive it is to take your family to the footy. Well, here's a way that you can do it for absolutely nothing. You've got to get into a Bing Lee store, buy a Samsung product. When you do that, you'll get tickets to any Sydney competition game on a Friday or a Saturday. You also go into the draw for the State of Origin match in Sydney and a chance of winning tickets to Brisbane, all expenses paid, up for the last Origin clash. So if you are looking for a good product, Samsung's the way to go. The only place you can get those free tickets in town are the Bing Lee stores all around Sydney, and there are some 19 stores in the metropolitan area. Now, that's a fantastic bargain, so get in there, buy that Samsung product and win those fantastic tickets to the football.
Okay, and each and every weekend on World of Football, we tell you about the Greek restaurant that is really making a name for itself in Sydney, and it's Diathanes, and you'll often find Greg and I there. It's genuine Greek food there, the cabbage rolls, the lamb with potatoes, the calamari, the moussaka, great specials every day, the finest wines and the sort of service you'd like to find everywhere. It's right in the heart of the city, Diathanes, at 336 Pitt Street, and you can book for tonight by phoning 267-8956. 267-8956. Mine host is Nicholas. Greek food at its best. You'll think you're in the Greek islands up the back there, and you'll often see Hartley there during the week because it's his second home, fast becoming that. 269-0669, the open line number on 2GB's World of Football in the under-21 game here at Lang Park. It's Wide Bay 18 leading Brisbane 14, or is that 16, Greg?
It's 16, Peter.
16, okay.
Yep,
16 to 14 with Wide Bay up against the Brisbane Broncos Colts, and that'll be a bit of a surprise scoreline, Bernie Premberg.
Well, actually, Peter, it's not the Broncos Colts. This is a game run in conjunction with the local state league and a competition run in conjunction with the local state league. And
so it's a Brisbane side,
It is a composite Brisbane side,
I
yes.
see.
And this series is run to select a Queensland under-18 side later in the year. So actually, none of these players on show for this Brisbane side would be contracted to the Broncos.
Gee, there's some good kids in this side, particularly in the Brisbane side. Number 13, he's made plenty of busts, and he's running into his position now. Gee whiz, he can play.
Yeah, he's a good player, the lock forward. And also, gee, it's a bit hard to tell the difference. They're both playing in red and white, and the referee really must be struggling out there. 269-0669, the open line number on World of Football. We've got a cast bigger than Ben Hur today. We've got Peter Sterling, Warren Ryan in the studio, Bernie Premberg, Peter Peters and Greg Hartley here at Lang Park. And our sideline eye, Tony Peters, will take a break and be back with more.
What makes New South Wales fast bowler Michael Whitney feel good?
Bowling Viv Richards, second ball, that makes me feel great. I feel good. Wow! Fielding in front of the hill at the SCG, now that is a great feeling. But I'll tell you what feels really good, having a Tooheys draft, a cold one, straight after the game.
Tooheys draft. Real taste, real beer.
That feels good.
Moreover, there's been some incredible deals at Auto Village Holden during their hail damage sale.
You said it, Holly.
And here's more. Just like the Jackaroo DLX Fabulous 4-wheel drive wagon, just $21,990 plus on-road costs, you save over $6,000.
Or save over $5,000 on a Rodeo 4-wheel drive pickup with automatic transmission and big 2.6-litre fuel-injected engine, only $11,990.
That's stock numbers 833 and 600, Auto Village Holden at 266 Hume Highway, Cabramatta.
Here's a sensational what? Oh yeah, good day and all that. Yeah. Here's a sensational invitation to all rugby league fans. This weekend, I'd like you to play around with me. That's right, I'd like you to play Footy Tab for the full round of matches. Pick the margins or pick the winners. It's extremely simple. Even some football commentators can do it. And apart from a prawn night, it's the best fun you can have for $1. It certainly makes the footy more exciting. Have a punt on Footy Tab this weekend and you could score. A mozza, that is. Gary, did I mention that it was simple?
2GB's World of Football is rugby league.
Attention all panel beaters, mechanics and auto electricians. Sick of hunting round for the right Toyota part? Give York Toyota City a call. York Toyota City carries a full inventory of Toyota genuine parts, and the staff at York Toyota City really know their business. They should. They've been doing it long enough. They even have a full-time parts consultant on the road for on-the-spot service. Keep the feeling with Toyota genuine parts from York Toyota City in William Street, King's Cross. 357 7766.
This is the home of rugby league in New South Wales. Grace Brothers. Grace Brothers rugby league shops have got everything you want, like new season's merchandise, jerseys, shorts, sweats and pants, lots of official New South Wales rugby league gear. Oh, and of course, footballs. So, if you're into rugby league, get into Grace Brothers now. Rugby league shops. Selected Grace Brothers stores only. Oh, it feels good.
On 2GB News Talk 873, this is the world of football. Now it's back to the boys.
Welcome back to Lang Park in Brisbane. The Broncos versus the Panthers today. Should be a heck of a struggle here at Lang Park on an excellent day for football. Saturday football at Lang Park. There will be a good crowd here this afternoon. And Brisbane, of course, home by 2 points here last week in that controversial game. And Warren Ryan, a change in referees. Obviously, we all knew that referee Graham Annesley would go to reserve grade. But Bill Harrigan here today, the recognised number one. It seems as though the league have shut the door after the horses bolted.
Well, they probably have. Actually, I praised him in my column in the Herald because...
I noticed that.
A little bit tongue-in-cheek. I felt that by making such a spectacular error, he has precipitated the business of the in-goal touch judges being in place, hopefully by the end of the year, so that we do get the right decisions made in the in-goal area. And at least one thing, I mean, they might sit there right through the semi-final series and so forth and not have anything happen, but it would be absolute tragedy if the grand final went the wrong way because there was no in-goal touch judge there to just give it a nod or a shake of the head.
Yeah, well, it obviously is a problem. I mean, Michael O'Connor's try against Balmain in the first round of the premiership has been deemed by many not to have been a try, and I'm sure you go along with that.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I thought you might. So that one, plus the one here at Lang Park last week, I mean, even if they were the only two that an in-goal judge had to rule on during the season, they would have earned their money. You know, there are a lot of people now saying don't take it out of the hands of the referees and the touch judges. Interesting. Let's go right around the panel this afternoon. Peter Sterling, your views on in-goal touch judges?
Well, I think they're a necessity, Peter, and I've thought that for a long time. As far as I'm concerned, as I have said before, referees have too much to do. They are going to make mistakes because they are human and they're not going to be able to see everything that goes on. And to me, that it just takes a bit of pressure off them to have other people adjudicating on such an important place as the in-goal. And, you know, I just think that it's common sense to be able to take that bit of pressure off them where you are able to, and that's one area we can.
OK, Warren, what's your view?
I agree with that entirely. There's 3 games of the 8 every week that are on television. They've got the availability of technology in those 3 games. They could actually have an announcement: the try stands or the try is disallowed.
Well, it wouldn't have been hard last week, would it? And I think Manly would have been quite willing to wait that 30 seconds that it took for us all to know that it was indeed no try.
Well, Pete, you have a monitor at all games, and I mean, you turn to your monitor and you look and you give a very good call of the recall of the try as it was scored, and you can say yes, a try, no try. I mean, if they had somebody hooked up to a speaking system or even a red or a green light, I mean, the try stands or the try doesn't stand.
Yeah.
And the ref doesn't get booed. He doesn't have to make a decision on it. If he's in any way doubt, he just puts his hand up and asks the question. Otherwise, he doesn't have to defer either to an in-goal touch judge or the electronic devices.
I like the red light, green light on a video. I think that would add to the excitement at a game. It'd be like the old Roman days, or feed him to the lines or
Thumbs
not,
up,
thumb up, thumb down.
Yeah, well, that sort of thing that can be provided because it's all in place. The three major games each weekend, that's in place and that's available to them. On the other ones, the other 5 games, well, they have the in-goal touch judge at no extra cost, perhaps a little bit extra, but you just get the 2 lower grade referees to return to the field and sit on a chair, one each end, and they run along the dead ball line, get a little bit extra money. Mightn't be needed all day.
Okay, I think the league are quite willing to bring it in, but of course it's got to be an international ruling. Bernie, you were here last week, and in your report to us, you said it was a very doubtful try, and indeed it was.
Yes, Peter, I think unfortunately Graham Annesley was one of the few people at Lang Park who thought it was a try, but and I agree with what Warren and Peter said. Obviously, anything which is going to take pressure off the referees and can assist in making the correct decision, you can't knock it. But I must admit I do have a few reservations about in-goal judges. I think you still could have conflicts of opinion, and I don't believe that decision last week really lent anything to the argument for or against in-goal judges, because to me it was a player lunging for the line. It was not as if there was a group of players around him. Graham Annesley said after the game that he was in a reasonably well position and had a view of the incident. Well, to me it was a situation where a second opinion shouldn't have really been wanted. It was a straight out
I
decision.
thought his touch judges should have been of some assistance. Evidently, they weren't last week.
Well, he looked at the touch judges before he awarded the try, as all referees do.
So they were in the in-goal?
I don't know. I wasn't looking at the touch judges, but he definitely looked for the touch judges and awarded the try. So perhaps they were of the opinion, obviously, the incorrect opinion, that it was a try.
The three of them must have been in that situation. Once they take that one step, as you know, Bernie, into that touching goal area, and he checks them out. Obviously, he's got a 3-way. He's got a 3 votes to nil. So that was the reason he awarded the try. But it wouldn't make any difference. All the hassles in the world. A touch judge looks after the touchline, touching goal. The referee looks after the field of play. Now, the fellow that we're talking about can be in total control of that in-goal area. And, mate, you're not going to get 100% correct all the time. As you said, there will be a conflict of interest. But 99 times out of 100, Bernie, it'll work.
Well, I'm just wondering whether, had there been an in-goal judge in place last week, whether Graham Annesley would have asked for an opinion. Because to me, it was a clear-cut decision.
Yeah, I think that's always got to be the case, too. If a referee thinks that he is, without a shadow of doubt, right, then he's going to go ahead and do it. He's not going to consult.
Exactly.
Did Ian Roberts obstruct his view momentarily? Ian Roberts was definitely in the picture and seemingly between the referee and Waters, and possibly his arm was obscured momentarily by the big bloke.
It could have.
It certainly appeared that way, Warren, but as I say, the referee did say after the game that he was in reasonable position and had a good view of the incident, of the actual try.
Well, Peter, I think, why aren't we going a little bit further then? I believe that we live in an age of technology. Why don't we turn that around where instead of the video crucifying the referees, we do help it? Like, I'm looking at it from a player's point of view. I work for 12 months of the year to achieve something. Now, a refereeing error, as I said, because they're human, they're going to make mistakes. But say, go to the extent of a grand final being decided on that, I'm prepared to wait 10 seconds, 20 seconds for that red or green light, or for 3 people to adjudicate up in some stand somewhere. They get to look at the video from 5 different angles. They give a yes or no. For 12 months of the year, I'm prepared to wait 10 seconds, and I think that's going to take a lot of controversy out of the game, and it'll take a lot of pressure off referees, which is going to make it more attractive to become a referee, and the standard is going to continue to improve.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, Sterlo. I mean, guys went away from Lang Park last week that had worked very hard for upwards of between $2,000 and $3,000 for a win, and not enough money to buy a Vegemite sandwich for a loss. Well, and I think that's the point.
Well, that certainly is a point from the from the monetary point of view, from the guys going out and playing and working for their money. But in this day and age of such a close competition, like 2 points now, sides are going to look back at that decision and say, well, this could cost us a spot in the 5, it could cost us a spot in the 3, it could cost us a minor premiership.
Yeah.
And, I know it's only 2 points, they're saying one game. I don't believe they really even out during the season, and these kind of things are just that important that we have to do the very best we can to make sure that, things like that don't happen again.
Yeah, how would you have been if you were a footy tab punter and has paid $143,000 if you had Manly to win by 1-12, and then suddenly Brisbane have jumped up and won by 1-12, and somebody else has got your money? I mean, I think I'd be having plenty to say about that. Would you, Bernie?
Yes, that puts in a new light on the issue, I suppose, but yes, you'd be very vocal.
I think also we've got to get this right, because so much money is being bet on football. You can't sweep it under the table. We had Brian Clark, the bookmaker from Darwin, on not so long ago, and he estimates that $500 million will be spent on rugby league betting this year. That's an awful amount of money.
A lot of it's yours too.
I know it is.
And the Queensland TAB are introducing Footy Tab in June.
They are?
Yep.
Okay, well, there's even more money to go. Let's go now to our sideline eye, Tony Peters.
Yes, Peter, I think we might have a few interesting points here because referee Bill Harrigan's with me. Bill, we've been talking about referees have been crucified by video. What are your thoughts on video being now used to help referees?
I think the days of the video are a long way from becoming part of refereeing. I think the way it's going at the moment is quite good. Referees use their touch judges, work as a team, will overcome most mistakes.
The boys have suggested maybe the idea of officials being on the sideline or up in the box and they simply use a red and green light video system. Red for no-go, green for the try, just a simple 10, 15-second delay. What are your thoughts?
I can see a lot of problems with that. I can't see any problem at the moment. The touch judges are there doing a good job. If the referee takes the time to have a look at the touch judges and work as a team, you can probably overcome most problems.
You can remember, you were just talking to me about an experience off air before that you had up here at Lang Park 2 years ago, and you're a much wiser man since?
Yeah, exactly the same spot as Graham had his problem. I awarded the try to a St George player who had a little knock on. I was obscured. Out of habit, I glanced at the touch judges and didn't take particular notice of them and awarded the try. If I had have taken notice of my touch judges, I could have found that there was a problem there and not given that try and saved myself a bit of relegation to reserve grade.
Billy, referees, do you feel they're paid well enough? Obviously, an article in the newspaper this week indicates that maybe if you go the whole hock and pay referees a large sum of money for refereeing, we may attract even more quality people to the job. What are your thoughts there?
Well, certainly more money might make it possible to attract other people. I'd like more money, yeah. Obviously, anybody would like more money, but I think I must say that all referees join refereeing for the love of the game, not for the money. The money becomes a second issue, but yeah, I'd still like to see more.
The idea of in-goal touch judges, from what you've said so far, you seem to be opposed to it?
No, the in-goal touch judges, if they're there to help the referee and it takes a little bit of pressure off me, well, I'm all for it. And if I can have another set of eyes there looking head-on. But I must say in the same breath, too, that you've got another fella there and you get a tight situation, you've got two heads there, he may make a mistake and you've only compounded it. But if it's going to help, I'm all for it.
Billy, from a referee's point of view, what do you feel needs to be done? Obviously, the players are going ahead with their game, the administrators are going ahead with their particular roles. What do you personally feel needs to be done to help referees?
Well, the coaching we're receiving at the moment is very good. I think the referees have got to work on their game, maintain fitness, and maybe if the media a little bit get off our back. We seem to come under scrutiny all the time, and if they talk about the players in the game more so than what the referees do, may take a bit of pressure off, and we may see a little bit more better refereeing.
Do you feel the incentive is there now for the guys to really want to try their luck out in the middle?
Well, I think with the referees coming under scrutiny all the time, it's obviously that's going to set a few people to say, well, that's not for me. But the incentive to get to first grade and the love of the game, and for to say I'm a first grade referee, that's an incentive enough for me.
Graham Annesley took his mistake with a fair amount of dignity on Monday morning, didn't he?
I think he did it very well. He saved a lot of face. He come out and said that he made the mistake and apologised for it. It's one that he regrets, and I think he's standing up very high.
Billy, you're one of the fittest referees in the business. You're certainly going to need to be this afternoon. The humidity here is just like living up in New Guinea.
Yeah, it'll be like running around the middle of a sauna.
Mate, what have you done? I believe you've done some work this week to try to sort of familiarise yourself with what to expect today.
Yeah, it's been, because of the rain, it's been pretty humid down home as well. So I've been running around about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon to try and acclimatise to the weather at that time of day, and I found it very difficult.
Today's game, the Broncos and the monster Penrith pack, it's certainly going to be tough going up front, isn't it?
I think so. They're both out there to win. They've both got good packs, and they'll really have a good tussle out there.
Have a good game today, mate. Thanks for talking to me. Back to you, Pete.
Okay, Billy Harrigan there with our sideline eye, Tony Peters. An interesting Bernie Pramberg, Greg Hartley, two former referees that the young fellow's been out running, at match time this week to try and prepare himself for the game. I think that's a good trait, Bernie.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's indicative of the professional attitude that Harrigan takes into his refereeing, and I suppose that that's a necessity these days. We're all talking about the standard of refereeing and how it can be improved. Unfortunately, week in, week out, there seems to be the game's plagued by errors, but the referees, considering they're doing it on a part-time basis, I doubt that they could do much more, because there's never been a fit a lot of referees, and I'm sure Greg would agree with that.
Yeah, I think they're pretty fit now, Bernie. I still believe that there could be a lot more coaching going in it, but their fitness side of, I think, is very good, because as young Billy said, a lot of them do a lot on their own, which they have to do, similar to the players, and it's very commendable for Billy to get out at that time of the afternoon and try to prepare himself for this match, and I take my hat off to him.
Tell me this, what's to stop the league from using Harrigan Friday night and Sunday?
Nothing whatsoever, because I was an instrument, as Bernie knows, because I used to do midweek games. I backed up and I did a couple of games on a weekend if it was necessary, but that was the system in the old days, Peter. These days they believe one game for the weekend. The fellows like Harrigan and various others, Annesley too is a very fit referee, quite a few of them are, McCullum, they're quite capable of doing that. I don't know whether Bernie agrees.
Yeah, I do. The philosophy should be the best referee for the best game, and if that means that a referee's got to back up on the weekend, so be it.
Yeah, I agree, Bernie.
Okay, Warren, what do you think of that?
Well, Friday, I'd say, yeah, Friday, Sunday, no problem, as long as there's a day between, although they could probably do, they could do them on adjacent days. It's not as if they're getting the bumps and the bruises. They don't get knocked over very often. I saw one get knocked over at Penrith recently and got up and disallowed our try. So.
He went down, he really went down.
I hope he got a bruise for his trouble.
He got hit from behind, and those ones really hurt. I mean, if somebody's coming at you and you've got nowhere to go, you can sort of flinch yourself, but when they get you from behind and down you go, boy, it hurts.
Okay, 269-0669, whether you're a single-digit handicap player or a ranked novice, Sharpies Golf House will take care of all your golf requirements. Sharpies staff know what it's like to be a beginner, so don't be afraid to ask them any questions. Not only will Sharpies look after you with service, but they'll take care of you with the best prices too. For example, this special on Pro Simon Black Knight golf clubs, 3 woods and 9 irons, usually priced at $595, and now $399. And you can even trade in your old clubs. And here's another big saving. The American Slotline putter, normally $75, now great value at only $39. Shop in a relaxed, friendly atmosphere and save on golf clubs, accessories, shoes and clothing at Sharpies Golf House, 220 Elizabeth Street in the city, 473 Rocky Point Road at San Souci, and the Super News Store on the corner of Stony Creek and Forest Roads at Peakhurst.
Yep, and when you're in the middle of a tough job, you want a power tool that can go the distance. A Makita power tool from Mitre 10, that's what you've got to do. When you buy Makita, you know you're buying a product that'll give you all the years of reliable service. Mitre 10 are leaders in service, and Makita are the world leaders in power tool technology, especially with their cordless power tools and their range that includes everything from an electrical screwdriver to the heavy-duty industrial grinders. Makita power tools, go and see the experts at Mitre 10. That's where you're going to get a great choice, great deals on prices, absolutely fantastic service. What a team they are, Peter, Makita and Mitre 10.
Yeah, they certainly are, Greg. And it's 20 points to 18 in favour of Wide Bay over Brisbane in the 18s game here. And a very interesting game of rugby league. And good crowd coming in now at Lang Park. Bernie, what do they expect this afternoon? Around about 16, 17?
Yeah, I'd say so, Peter. Despite the fact that it's live television, of course, the Broncos invariably continue to draw well on Saturday games. In fact, I think last year on a day of torrential rain and live television, they still drew 12,000, which was their smallest crowd of the year. And I'd say around 16, 18 would be the crowd today.
Okay, 269-0669. Good afternoon. You're first, and thanks for waiting on. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, I was just ringing in a question to Peter Sterling.
Go ahead, he's listening.
Fine, okay. Peter, how do you feel that you had a chance to look at Ian Gately, who came over from Manly? How do you feel Ian settled in over there? And a bit of evaluation of how you think he's going, and do you foresee him be moving into Parramatta first lineup?
Well, Ian has settled in quite well over there. He's he's training particularly well, and I would imagine he would have come under very close scrutinisation this week for a first grade spot after, some pretty ordinary performances, I suppose, by our front six up front. It's always difficult to come to a club. He's a running forward, and I probably can't comment that much on how well he's playing, because I do go in sort of 10 minutes before the half-time break to get changed. So I don't see the second half. But from all reports, he's going quite well. Certainly one of the front-line contenders for a spot. If we are disappointing, certainly again this weekend, I think there will be changes in the side if we don't come up with the required result. And I imagine Ian Gately would be one of those guys who may well come into the side.
Okay, thanks very much for your call. Sterlo, I had my first look on videotape of Jason Taylor. I know, Warren, you watched the winners on Monday night on Sky Channel. Gee, for a kid his age, didn't he have an involvement in that game?
Well, he did. He does all their kicking because, as you know, we play Wests on Monday.
Yeah, so you've had a good look at him.
Yeah, and we watch Parramatta go around every week. I suppose Sterlo already knows that every week our video is Parramatta versus somebody, our upcoming opponent. So we watch them every week, and we note when they miss their little opportunities or when they take them. And he had a very good game. He set the first try up with an overhead pass that's smacked of maturity beyond his age, way beyond his age. And all round, I thought he had a very good game. Perhaps defensively, he's a little bit lowish in these tackles, and but he's a pretty good prospect.
He certainly is. Sterlo. He's just a baby-looking kid, isn't he? But, gee, he can play.
Well, that's what I suppose was the most impressive thing was his composure. I thought his kicking game was quite sound. He did throw the last pass, I think, in something like 3 tries, so that's a fair rap for the kid. If anything, he probably is a little bit slight. I'd say the weight room is something that he'll have to get acquainted to over the next couple of years. But he's got all the attributes. He seems to have a pretty good head on his shoulders. It always seems that the good players do have time, and we probably gave him plenty of that last week. So he's got a future in the game.
And he can kick goals too, can't he? I mean, they were black dot jobs,
as
you know.
Yeah, unfortunately they kept going over. But, it was a good performance by the West side last week, and I suppose that Jason Taylor was one of the leading lights in that performance.
Certainly was. And Warren, I particularly noted, I'm sure you would have too, that Steve Jackson, who Canberra scored the try in the grand final against you guys last year, you'll remember that well. But, gee, he's showing some good ball skills, and he's a player that could pop up in one of the countrysides.
Well, he played very well against Parramatta, and he played very strongly. He showed a bit of footwork. He certainly got some speed, and I think it was he who made quite an impressive break on a tap penalty sequence and put them in for a try. Sterlo probably has vivid memories of trying to tackle him, I think. Was that Jackson? Peter,
mate, I got sick and tired of seeing them coming. I didn't look at their faces after a while. It may well have been Jackson.
Yeah, they kept coming. 2690669. Good afternoon. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'd like to put this to the panel in general, see what they think about this. Now that the league has set a precedent by fining a player for bringing the game into disrepute,
yeah,
I think they should have a look at these players that are claiming tries when they obviously know they haven't scored. What Kerrod Walters did last week was as good as cheating. He's made a fool of the referee. He hasn't done anything for the game. What do you think about?
Well, he didn't claim a try.
Well, if he would have been big enough to say it was no try, all that controversy would not have happened.
What do you think? What do you think his coach would have done to him in that situation?
Well, I think it should be taken out the coach's hands. I think the league should say this guy made a frivolous claim for a try, and the league should fine him.
I can't go along with it, but I'll put it to the panel quickly, Greg.
No, I think the coach would hang him.
Warren?
It's not cricket, old chap. We don't say not out. No, I didn't catch him. It was a half volley.
Sterlo, if you score one, will you say don't take it?
Well, I'm probably the only bloke in the game who will, but I think it'll go the other way. I think Wayne Bennett will have words to Peter Jackson this week. That's probably why he's on the bench, because of his reaction to the try.
Bernie?
Oh, no. It even sells out in the long run, I'm certain. But Kerrod Wallace, in fact, after the game, did say that he thought it was touch and go, but the referee was on the spot. So he didn't claim the try.
Okay, thanks very much for your call. Sideline Eye, Tony Peters, you've got some news.
Yes, Peter, just confirming what Bernie said. Bernie's mail's obviously very good. Kerrod Wallace is officially out, and he's been replaced by Ray Herring.
Okay, so there it is. Bernie spot on there, as we expected him to be, and that's Ray Herring in the hooking spot. So both sides really have makeshift hookers this afternoon.
Yes, and ironically, teammates for most of last season in the Brisbane reserve grade side. Peter Herring's an interesting player. He played with the Valleys in the Brisbane club competition for 3 or 4 seasons. Was a former Australian schoolboy rep who came down from Toowoomba as a lock forward, and has bulked up considerably in the last 2 seasons, and has been playing hooker for half of last last year and most of this season in reserve grade. He's a solid player without being spectacular, and he won't let them down.
Okay, and I just wonder if they shouldn't have really talked Greg Koneski to another season, because at times last year, in an emergency situation, he was terrific.
He was a great stopgap, if you can call a former international hooker of only a season previously stopgap. And in fact, I saw Greg Koneski having a chat to Graham Lowe in the dressing room after last week's game, and he still looks fit enough to play, the Turtle.
Every time he came on as a replacement last year, he fired, didn't he?
Yes.
Played a blinder.
He certainly did. Okay, Bingley has the biggest range of Samsung products at the lowest prices, and at Bingley, you always get that great personalised service. Now, listen to this. Whenever you buy any Samsung product from any Bingley store, make sure you ask for your free family pass to any Friday night or Saturday New South Wales Rugby League game. As well, you'll go into the draw to win tickets to the Sydney State of Origin match, and you have a chance of winning an all-expenses-paid trip to Brisbane for the Lang Park Clash. And if it's 1-1, that will be a dandy game. Just tell them that Hollywood and Zorba sent you when you buy any Samsung appliance from any Bingley store, like the brilliant 14-inch Samsung remote control colour TV with a big 3-year warranty. It was $429. Now it's $399 for the biggest Samsung bargains this side of Hong Kong. I like Bingley, Holly.
Yeah, I like the CB and the West End hotels too, Peter, because they offer the best value accommodation anywhere in Sydney. Now, both are right in the heart of the city, only 2 minutes from the Central Railway Station in Chinatown, a couple of minutes from the Entertainment Centre and the monorail, and only 4 minutes from all those fabulous attractions down at the Darling Harbour Complex. Both hotels, Zorba, spotlessly clean. There's an airport bus available to and from both hotels, and every West End room has air conditioning, private bathroom, all the modern cons that you need. The West End, $70 a single and $80 a double. That's fantastic for country people. And the CB across the road, $25 a single, $40 a double. The West End's in 412 Pitt Street in the city. The CB, as I said before, across the road at 417. Right opposite they are. So both hotels, as I said, are perfect for families and visitors from the country, or if you don't want to run the RTB, you get in there too.
Okay, just repeating here at Lang Park in Brisbane, Kerrod Walters out of the Brisbane side, replaced by Ray Herring at hooker, and the Penrith Panthers are as per big league program. Should be a big one this afternoon. Bill Harrigan is the referee. 269-0669, the open line number. We'll take more calls after the Macquarie National News at 1 o'clock. That news that Kerrod Walters is out, Warren and Sturlow, certainly brings the Broncos back a bit. He scored 2 tries last week and has been one of their best players throughout the season.
I admire his honesty too when he said it was touch and go. It was right, he touched down, but the ball was gone.
They've all had their Get Smart pills today.
Yeah, they certainly have. But interesting, Sturlo, you guys, Newcastle this week, certainly no easy one after being at Campbelltown last Sunday.
No, kind of the frying pan into the fire, isn't it? That we've got a poor record up there. They're going to be very tough, but I believe that it's probably the best side we could come up against at this particular time. We are having a few problems defensively, and we're either going to go out there and get the job done and stay with the leaders, or we're going to be blown off the park. So this is the test of character for Parramatta this week.
Well, you won't have to wonder about where they're going to come at you. It's going to be right up the centre all day, and it's up to your forward pack to really stand up tomorrow. It's there's no questions about where they're going to go at you at.
That's right. We know what to expect. We know where they're going to come, and if you do know that, you've really got to be ready for it. If we can handle it, we'll win the football game and other parts of the paddock. So it's, like I say, this is a test for us. It probably sums up our season, what's going to happen this Sunday.
Okay, Pete, we'll talk to you about the retirement of Eric Growth after the 1 o'clock Macquarie National News. Great player, the Guru, and he's announced his retirement from rugby league. We'll be back after the Macquarie National News at 1.
This is your rugby league station. 2GB News Talk 873. News Talk 873, Macquarie National News.
It's 1 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Angela Van Denderen. The tax department reportedly will reap more than $1.5 billion in unpaid taxes from Australia's top companies. The Herald claims the windfall will be spread over 2 years and comes after a new auditing system. But Eric Ristrom from the Taxpayers Association says he believes the small taxpayers are the biggest cheats.
Some many years ago I said that I thought there was then about $7,000 million a year being lost. People laughed at me, but when things like prescribed payments came in, which is a scheme of taking tax from little contractors, people who do work on houses, they found that there was an awful lot of money not being paid. But it should be right across the board. We shouldn't just get one-eyed about companies or one-eyed about little contractors.
A new survey indicates housing has become more affordable for the first time in nearly 2 years. However, the Real Estate Institute study shows more than 36% of family income is spent on mortgage payments. This is a drop of 0.1%. A report on the survey says while the drop is minimal, it's notable as it's the first fall since the March quarter of 1988. US President George Bush has attacked Moscow's threat to cut essential supplies to Lithuania. Mikhail Gorbachev has warned the renegade state it faces economic ruin if it doesn't back down on its push for independence. But Mr. Bush says intimidation is the wrong approach.
Coercion, escalation is not the way to go. The way to go is dialogue. And I'll repeat it here. And that's what we're doing about it right at this point, calling on them to heed these words.
The British steelmaker accused of producing the barrel of the world's biggest gun says most of the parts have already been sent to Iraq. Clive Myrie reports.
Company spokesman Anthony Peck says only the final consignment of 8 pipes have been seized by customs. The rest are already in Iraq.
44 have already been delivered to the Ministry of Industry and Minerals in Baghdad.
If all the pipes ordered were placed end to end, it would make a gun barrel 156 metres long, a ridiculous length. The options now are that the shipment is for a number of different guns, or it really is just pipework. Clive Myrie, Macquarie National News, London.
Melbourne Air Traffic Control says the radar at Tullamarine Airport was functioning satisfactorily during last night's thunderstorm. Control Centre spokesman David Johnson says some main communication systems were knocked out by lightning strikes, but backup systems were operating during the storm. Mr Johnson says there was no danger to the travelling public and the airport was closed simply as a precaution.
The airport was closed for a period of time because of the danger involved, so that it averted placing anyone in danger by the tower controller realizing the situation as far as the gusty winds and so on that are associated with thunderstorms. And this action taken to close the aerodrome for short periods of time is a routine in nature when thunderstorms are in the area.
A woman who appeared in a US court without a bra says she was humiliated by a judge who found her in contempt of court because he said her breasts were obviously showing. The judge said the court found the 21-year-old woman offensive, adding he'd never encountered such a problem after 8 years on the bench. This is Macquarie National News. Updating sport, Penrith League coach Phil Gould admits he's given rookie hooker Brooke Kennedy a big job in the match of the day against Brisbane. Kennedy comes into the lineup for the injured Royce Simmons. And Gould says playing the game at Lang Park doesn't make it any easier for Kennedy, even though he's a former Brisbane boy.
Well, you know, every team that goes there seems to go there as underdogs. It's a very hard task. The Lang Park crowd and the fact that you've got to leave a day early and fly up there and prepare yourself in a different way. They've got everything in their favour, and I think their home ground record probably speaks for itself. So,
There's no real reason to quit. After dominating the 400-metre hurdles for a decade, he had to settle for a bronze medal at the 1988 Seoul Games. News time is 5.5 minutes past 1. Mike Bailey's Sydney weather, and Mike says the Bureau reports humid with a few showers and the chance of a late thunderstorm. Moderate to fresh northerly winds but turning cooler west to southwest tonight. A city maximum tomorrow about 23 degrees. The further outlook for Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, a few showers, southeasterly winds and a city maximum about 23 degrees. At the moment in Sydney it's 24 degrees, that's 3 above the average, humidity is 69% and winds are from the northwest at 18 kilometres an hour. The boating weather forecast for Broken Bay to Port Hacking and 60 nautical miles seawards, northwest to northeast winds at 20 to 25 knots, turning westerly tonight, seas rising to 2 metres, the swell 1 to 2 metres. For Pittwater, Port Jackson and Botany Bay, northwest to northeast winds 15 to 25 knots, turning westerly tonight, seas choppy and a 1 to 2 metre swell at the heads. More Macquarie National News at 1:30.
This is Greg Hartley with a few words about the Great Aussie Ring Tickler. Yep, that's what I said, the Great Aussie Ring Tickler. If you don't already know what it is, and you're the sort of person who fancies a drink every now and then, or sooner, you'd better get down to where you buy your tuies and ask for the Great Aussie Ring Tickler. They sell for only $2.99 recommended retail, and they'll save you heaps on torn hankies, shirt tails and duds, and even skin. The Great Aussie Ring Tickler. If your retailer hasn't got it, tell them to call Jim on 523 8827.
Look, our family just cable water skied for the first time ever.
My kids just love the giant water slides.
Windsurfing, tennis, golf, all right next to the largest licensed club in Australia.
We've got more than you might think. Panthers, Panthers.
Mulgar Road, Penrith. No other resort does it better.
World of entertainment.
1 down, 5 to go. You're listening to the World of Football on Sydney's #1 rugby league station, 2GB News Talk 873. Here's Greg Hartley and Peter Peters.
Welcome back to Lang Park in Brisbane. Full time in the Colts game just over, and a high scoring game. Brisbane 30 beat Wide Bay 20. Good crowd building up here at Lang Park in Brisbane, and Reserve Grade 2 get underway in around about 20 minutes time between Brisbane and the Penrith Panthers this afternoon. Excellent game of football on Saturday afternoon football. Just a reminder that the 2GB team will be at Belmore Sports Ground tomorrow for the top of the table game between Canterbury Bankstown and Cronulla. And the big news from that game this afternoon is that both sides have lost front row forwards. Danny Lee out for Cronulla and Dean Pay out for Canterbury Bankstown. The replacement for Danny Lee is Michael Porter, and Mitch Newton comes up in from Reserve Grade 2 to replace Dean Pay. That should be an excellent game of football tomorrow. And then on Easter Monday, we do it all again for you, and that's the Balmain Tigers against the Western Suburbs Magpies out at Leichhardt Oval. That should be a terrific game of football too. So if you want rugby league, you've got it coming out of your ears this weekend on 2GB's World of Football. And again, a special cheerio to all you people out at the 2GB mobile broadcasting unit at the Royal Easter Show. Hope the weather's okay for you there this afternoon, and I hope you're enjoying the football broadcast. 269 0669, the open line number. Peter Peters, Greg Hartley, Bernie Pramberg in Brisbane, and of course Warren Ryan and Peter Sterling back there at the studios in Sydney. Let's take some more calls on 269 0669. Good afternoon. Hello.
Peter?
Yes, mate.
Yeah, I'm just inquiring about the prices for premiership matches at home ground.
Yeah.
I've been to a couple of games this year, and I've been charged $7.
Yeah.
And last week I got a couple of friends up from Victoria, and I wanted to see a rugby league match, so we decided to go to the football stadium.
Yeah.
And it was $10.
Well, it's $7 and then an extra bit to get into the stand, isn't it?
Well, it was just $10 wherever you sat.
$10 straight in
the football stadium.
Who was the game? That was Eastern St George.
Eastern St George.
Yeah, Eastern. It's up to the home clubs to charge what they like. I know the football stadium's a bit different. The entry for all other grounds, I think it's $7, and then you pay an extra amount to go into the grandstand. We've discussed this on previous shows this year. Some clubs are charging up to $15 to go into the grandstand. So it's pretty tough, isn't it?
Oh, it's not just tough for myself. It was bring up friends from Melbourne. They were a bit curious about it. And also, if you're a South and East supporter, you're paying around $30 plus or more a season if you go to all the home grounds. So.
Yeah, it is a bit steep, I feel. But, I mean, in this day and age, what can you do for $10? Not much.
So the lady who I bought the ticket off, I queried it, and she wasn't very impressed with it. She just said, if you don't like this, go and see the VFL. And I thought, well, I might as well, but I didn't.
Yeah, well, of course, it's not up to her to do that. And really, you should take a name and...
I was going to, but I had friends of mine. I got a bit embarrassed about it.
Yeah.
She said it was 10 and I cleared it, and of course I was wrong. And
Okay, well, I'm sorry I can't give you any joy, but I understand what you're talking about.
Also, before you go,
yeah.
About the rugby league being on at the same time as the VFL and the Sydney shows,
yeah.
It's a bit wrong because there's a place where I park where I used to go to cricket, and it cost me an extra $40 because of course I got a ticket because there was people going around giving everyone tickets.
So you've had a bad day, haven't you?
Yeah, it's pretty expensive.
Yeah, certainly have. Okay, thanks for your call.
Okay, bye-bye.
2690669. Good afternoon. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Pete, what do you reckon Laurie Spina's chance of making State of Origin this year?
Who?
Laurie Spina, Queensland.
Laurie Spina for Queensland?
Yeah, no chance.
None.
No?
No.
I reckon he's playing better football.
He's playing very good football, but Alan Langer will be the Queensland State of Origin half, and, it'll be daylight second. I don't think, Laurie, good player that he is, will even get a look in.
Okay.
Okay, sorry to disappoint you, but I'm on an honest Greek. 2690669, Alan Clarkson, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, my friend. I couldn't agree more with you on that assumption, and you and Greg. Langer will be the halfback, of course, and probably the test halfback, and so it goes on. Although I thought little Tuvey last week, didn't he have a top game?
Yeah, he certainly did, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Of course, the country team's chosen on Monday night, Warren, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll pick it on Monday night. There'll be a hookup, about a 6-way hookup.
Okay, and have you had any discussion with your fellow selectors at this stage?
Not yet, no, but it was important. I've spoken to the president and the secretary, and
He'll be the country 5'8".
I'd say almost definitely he'll be in the side naturally, but I'd say...
Will he be in the side?
Who, Laurie Daly?
Yeah.
Oh, Alan, I know what you think of him. You hold him in very high regard. He'll be in the side.
Yeah,
all
I
right.
mean, is he eligible to... I know he played for them last year, but is he eligible to play for country?
What, they brought some more rules in,
Oh,
have
yes.
they?
No, not more rules. No, they're just querying Mr. Daly, that's all.
Well, they shouldn't. He played all his junior football at June E, didn't he? Before he went to... Well, that's a joke if they do that.
You know, the way it's going, if something's not done about it, you look through your program, because they're qualifying everyone that's any good for City by grabbing them early and qualifying them either in flag sides or scholarshiping them to schools, it'll get that way that the country team or the people available for country are all old blokes, and there's no new blood coming through. The series, as we know it, is almost doomed if something's not done about it.
I think it'll stink if they take Daly.
Yeah, well, undoubtedly they won't. I think there was just a little, of course, the discussion was on about whether Stewart was eligible to play for country or whether he was a Sydney player. I mean, this tug-of-war thing that's going on, I know that you're in a very awkward position, Warren, and it's very probably difficult for you to understand, but I was talking to a very close friend of mine the other day who raised the question of whether City country, with all this tug-of-war going on, whether it's outlived its usefulness, and whether there should be a north versus south. The way that you're talking about the way that the clubs are split up now. And
well, it's quite simple. It should be Sydney versus country, and country is Canberra, Newcastle, and Illawarra, and Sydney is the metropolitan clubs. I mean, it's quite simple if they call it Sydney country. I mean, it's like, Peter Sterling played, in Raymond Terrace and in Wagga, and then came to Sydney as a schoolboy. But I don't think that Peter would ever have any problems about where he should play in Sydney country, Peter?
No, not at all, mate. I was a country player through and through, and I think you'll find most of the players who came through a similar sort of setup as I did would say exactly the same.
Exactly right. I think it stinks if they keep, Glenn Lazarus, for instance, he learned all his football with Queanbeyan and now he's going to play for City in City versus Country. I think that's absolutely laughable.
Bradley Clyde's the same.
Bradley Clyde, well, that's wrong. I mean, they're country boys, and I think the New South Wales Rugby League have made plenty of good decisions, but this is a bum decision, and it's got a bad smell about it, and it's about time they fixed it up, and it's just wrong. If they want this Sydney Country game to be a real contest, well, they should make it exactly Sydney versus Country. Okay, the retirement during the week of Eric Grove, Peter Sterling, what a great winger at his best, and it's a shame that injuries just dogged him over the last couple of years.
Yes, very unfortunate, Peter. And, when he did announce his retirement, it was a very sad day for the club and I suppose rugby league supporters in general. One of the most dynamic ball runners the game has ever seen, and I'm sure that's the way he will be remembered. But unfortunately, the decision was made because of medical reasons. The doctor told him that there was a lot of arthritis in the knee and that for later life, this was probably the decision that needed to be made. But, it won't quite be the same without having Eric around the club, and he was certainly one of the reasons that we had so much success, I suppose, in the last 10 or 12 years was because of his presence.
Yeah, he's certainly a magnificent winger. I recall him scoring a try in a grand final in under 23s, I think it was, and then he went into first grade the next season. But, he was virtually unstoppable at the peak of his career. When he got the try line in his sights, there were plenty of fullbacks, and one around at the time that was trying to stop him was Graham Eadie. And if Graham Eadie couldn't stop him, and he didn't on plenty of occasions, then he was unstoppable.
Well, that's right. Some of the things that Eric has done in his career will stick in your mind, and certainly as a player who played with him, I have vivid memories of some of those. One of them did include Graham Eadie. He scored a try in a grand final where he had about a yard to work in from him to the sideline. Graham Eadie hit him side on and would have put any other player in the grandstand. Eric still scored the try, and that to me just summed up the kind of ability he had. The strength, the pace of the man was just had to be seen to be believed.
Yeah, he certainly was a marvellous player.
Last night on Channel 9, I think it was, they showed a magnificent clip of Eric scoring a try against Canterbury, I think it was, in a semi-final.
Best individual try ever been scored, as far as
it was just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Okay, well, anyway...
that was back before my time at Canterbury, but I'd like to recall one for you, Peter, that we all sat in the grandstand, Canterbury. We were first into the grand final in 1984, being the minor premiers, and we won the major semi. But we were sitting in the stand up in the old Sheridan stand before it was pulled down, and the try that he scored, we almost were ready to get up and walk out knowing that we were going to play St George. And the Guru got the ball and went down the right wing. He was on the right wing on this occasion, and scored in the Paddington end corner. And we just shook our. We'd been concentrating on St George because all the way we said it's St George, it's St George, it's St George, and at full time bang it was Parramatta. Courtesy of Growth, courtesy of Eric Growth try.
He carried Steve Rogers over the line that day. It was great. The thing that about Eric too is that, mate, he's never changed over all the years. He's had a lot of success, and he's just the same easygoing bloke that he's always been. Pretty happy with his lot in life, and whatever he does for the rest of his lifetime, he's going to be happy in that. He just goes with the flow, and I've just got so much respect for the guy that it's been a pleasure to be in the same football team and the same football club as him for over a decade.
Kind of Pete, we'll try and get him up later.
What Peter said then goes with all champions, including himself too, I might add.
Yeah, exactly right. Okay, let's go down to the sideline now, where our sideline eye, Tony Peters, has got the Penrith makeshift hooker for this afternoon, Brooke Kennedy, who's up against a former teammate of his up here in Brisbane in Ray Herring. Tony.
Yes, thanks, Pete. Well, Brooke, you're playing against Ray Herring. Originally, it was going to be Kerrod Waters. I guess Kerrod Waters being out of the Broncos side's a big boost for your chances today.
Oh, you could probably look at it that way. I think that the replacement Ray Herring is going to do a fine job. It's his first. I think it's his first run-on game for the Broncos, so he'll be keen to prove a point, and that if Kerry gets injured in the future, he's a good replacement. So I don't think that they're going to lose too much out there.
Brooke, Royce does all the organising for the Penrith Panthers around the rucks. It's he's been doing the organising for a long, long time now, and it's pretty difficult to imagine life without him. But it's a different dimension to your game. It's a different dimension to your game to have to start to do the creative work around the rucks today.
Definitely, Royce does call the shots, but we've got Chris Morton there now to call some plays. I don't think that I'll be doing too much fancy there. I think I'll just be giving the ball straight away. I'll maybe have a few darts, but that's about all.
Brooke, what do you think of the idea of back row forwards and other types of forwards now moving into the hooker role? It seems to be losing its specialty tag.
I suppose a couple of clubs have tried it, but I think coaches are just looking for versatility, and they would just want to an extra runner or an extra defender in the side, whereas a hooker usually plays from dummy half. They want someone who can either run it or defend a little bit stronger. So that's the way they're playing. But I don't think the specialist hooker's totally out of the game. I think he's very much needed. And the Kerrod Walls is a perfect example. Benny Elias, Mario Fennick, you can just rate them off the top of your head that there's some excellent hookers, and I still think you've got to be a specialist to play there.
Brooke, you left the Brisbane Broncos in not happy circumstances. That's pretty much common knowledge. I guess you've obviously got a point to prove today to a few people.
I'd like to play well, but I'm just treating the game like any other game. And I'll always try to play the best I can for the team and myself. And hopefully we can come up with a win at 4:30 this afternoon.
What made you join the Penrith Panthers?
Well, Daryl Brayman, he coached me up in Brisbane here in 1988 in reserve grade, and he said, we were talking during the year, and he just suggested that I join Penrith because he played there and he knew a few people there, so they contacted me and it just went from there.
So the decision to join one of the best packs in the competition and one of the front runners of the competition certainly looks like it's been worthwhile at this stage?
You could probably say that at this stage, yeah. There's still a long way to go in the year, and I'm just happy to keep playing well and doing the best I can for the side.
Brooke, I spoke to Roy Simmons earlier on today, and he indicated that the Broncos were going to get sick and tired of the side of Mark Geyer and John Cartwright and company pouring up the middle of the rucks today. Obviously, your tactics are pretty clear.
Well, obviously, that's the way we're probably going to try to play the game. But I still don't think it's going to be an easy game. It's going to be very, very hard in the middle. And with Mark Geyer and John Cartwright charging the line, maybe we can get on top of them later in the game.
Are you surprised at Brisbane's lack of form so far at this stage of the season?
No, well, obviously they've started all the previous years very, very fast, and they've always ended up at the end of the halfway mark on top of the table, or second or third. Whereas this year they're starting a little bit slower. Maybe they're trying to build their game and finish stronger. But I don't think they'd be too disappointed or too worried at this stage.
How do you feel about coming back and playing on Lang Park again?
Yeah, it feels a little bit different actually. I suppose I've never played here with the crowd against me, but hopefully they won't give me too much of a hard time.
Brooke, thanks for talking to me. Good luck today. Have a big one. Back to you, Pete.
Okay, thanks, Tony Peters there with Brooke Kennedy, who's got a big job today against his old club here, playing for Penrith against the Brisbane Broncos. Reserve grade has kicked off around about 10 minutes early this afternoon because of no under-21s ever here at Lang Park, but they did play an under-18s game early, and it surprises me that they did start early, and it certainly wasn't documented in the league's official publication. 0-0 in reserve grade between Penrith and the Broncos, and whether you're a tradesman or just someone who likes to do a little work around the house, if you want to get the job done properly, you're going to need the right gear, and the right gear is Makita from Mitre 10. Combine Makita, Australia's biggest suppliers of power tools, with Mitre 10, Australia's biggest hardware specialist, and you'll find that they have the equipment to make any job easier. Makita is at the forefront of power tool technology and is constantly developing new and better products. Mitre 10, Australia's largest hardware chain, is big on advice and service. Makita Power Tools. See your Mitre 10 stockist now. Ask Mitre 10 about Makita. Makita and Mitre 10. Now that's a great team.
You're not wrong. Mad Barry's, Pete, have 50 stores across Australia. This gives them the buying power, which means discounts for you. Now, Mad Barry's range of quality products include windows and doors. They've got the aluminium sliding doors, entry doors, internal doors, fly screens, security doors, and so on and so on. When we get into the budget furniture, the storage side of the business, we've got the pantries, bookcases, the chests of drawers. For the kids' room, they are ideal. For flat dwellers and for home starters, the prices are fantastic. Then you get into the bathrooms or any part of your house, plus the kitchens, because the kitchen collection that they've got in the living kitchen collection they've got at Mad Barry's is in a very, very exclusive range of quality crafted kitchens. Mad Barry stores are open 7 days a week up until 1 p.m. on Sunday. And Mad Barry's again have 19 stores in the Sydney metropolitan area. Every store offers you quality brands at discount prices and friendly expert advice on all your home improvement needs.
Yes, certainly. Mad Barry's, the place to go. 0-0 in reserve grade between Broncos and Penrith. And the El Toro Function Centre at Warwick Farmers welcome many brides and grooms celebrating their wedding day. So if you're planning to be married, why not phone them and discuss your wedding arrangements? El Toro's function rooms have shared many happy memories, from small weddings right through to big family celebrations. The special advice at the El Toro will help make your wedding day one you'll remember absolutely forever. After you've tried the rest, call the El Toro Function Centre on 602 7077 and have their professional staff arrange your special day. The El Toro Function Centre, Home Pride Avenue at Warwick Farm. And the big roar that's gone up here, the Brisbane Broncos in for a try in reserve grade, and they now lead by 4 points to 0. And the try scorer was the big fullback, Andrew Richards, I think it was. Was it, Greg? Andrew Richards in for the try.
I couldn't tell, Peter, because there was a lot of players all over the top of him, but he's a big giant of a man, I know that too.
Okay, let's go right now to a very special guest on 2GB's World of Football. A few moments ago, Peter Sterling made or paid tribute to his former long-service teammate, Eric the Guru Growth. He's always been a popular player on 2GB's World of Football during his magnificent career, where Greg and I were lucky enough, or you were lucky enough, Greg, to call his first premiership win in first grade. You called it from the whistle, and I called it from the grandstand. But he's always been an ornament to the game, and Guru, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Eric, I suppose you've had time to contemplate, mate, over just the fact that there will be no more football. How's it been the last couple of days?
Yeah, it gets a bit, you think back and you get a bit melancholy about it all, and just think about the good times that you had, and it's a big hole when you sort of had it all your life, and it's a bit strange.
Well, from Mount Pritchard Juniors to Parramatta in the lower grades, and then into first grade, and then on to New South Wales and Australia. A magnificent career, premierships, test wins, World Cup wins. I mean, when you look back, it's been something that you can be justifiably proud of.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it's not everybody has a chance, an opportunity to do what I'd done, and I appreciate every opportunity. And yeah, they were great times, and yeah, they'll certainly be hard to replace.
Eric, when you think back and where it all started, who's the person, do you think, that helped you most in your career?
Mate, without a doubt, Jack Gibson and Ron Massey, they were the two blokes that sort of got everything going at Parramatta, and yeah, I learned a lot of those sort of blokes. I mean, they wouldn't say much, but they got the respect they deserved, and I think Peter Sterling can vouch for that. I mean, that was an era that was just unbelievable. Well, there seemed great team spirit there during those days, and you were there as Parramatta became a real force in rugby league. It must have been wonderful to see that area with that great blue and gold army that were just delirious for a premiership, and some people had waited, since 1947. When it actually came, it was like the opening of a dam, wasn't it? Yeah, it certainly was. The scenes at the club after the game, I remember, was just phenomenal. It was just something like out of the Rockstar pages, but. Yeah, that was amazing, and that's one of the special things that I'll always remember, the first premiership win, and it was excellent. I'm sure Sterlo wants to ask you a few questions, and some that maybe you can't answer because it'll be a little bit in-house, but Sterlo, go for it.
Well, mate, we're going to have a drink on Wednesday night. I just want to know if you're going to be able to make it, because it is for you. Do you think you can get along or what? Yeah, no worries. I put my early word in, and there shouldn't be any problem. Mate, that's why I think you've retired, so that you can get a night out. But I suppose, Eric, you look back over a great career, I suppose. Is there any one thing that probably stands out, like any one moment or something that, like I know that we've all had good times, and certainly 81, the first grand final was great, but what are the things that stand out for you? Is it more the mateship or some games stand out? Or? Mate, yeah, the mateship's pretty much on top. I mean, the 82 Kangaroo Tour was something to behold. I mean, we were both pretty young and sort of going through it that time, and it sort of went pretty quickly, but the memories I got from that, and yeah, any game playing for your country is sensational. What about, I suppose most listeners now would love to know what you're going to be involved in now that you said it's a big hole, the rugby league not being in your life. What area is your life going to head? Well, I'm pretty much into music. I've recently purchased some recording equipment, and I'm ready to go with some jingles and creating some music. So we're not going to see you down coaching or conditioning work at the Parramatta Club? Well, conditioning work, I don't but mate, I'd like to be involved in football all along the way, mate, somewhere. I don't know, but I'm open to anything. Yeah. Well, mate, I know that all the players and all the people who've been associated with you through your rugby league career wish you all the best, as I'm sure all the listeners and really anyone who's followed rugby league. Like, I'm not going to sit here and give you too many raps. We'll do that on Wednesday night, but I know you've been a joy to play with, and I'm sure that all the people listening, you've been a joy to watch for them as well. So whatever you do, best of luck from everyone. Right, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you, Eric. Nice of you to join us this afternoon. I think it was nice that Pete had the opportunity to publicly say it on behalf of us all. It's you've given us many great memories, and you've been an ornament to the game, and I don't think we can say anything else other than thanks for the great memories. And they tell me there's an Eric Growth Jr. who can run a bit that we may see in grade ranks, not too far down the track.
Okay, Eric Growth there, and he certainly has been an ornament to the game of rugby league. 4-0 in favour of the Broncos over Penrith here at Lang Park in Brisbane, and the try scorer was Paul Hoff.
Yeah, that's the way you pronounce it, Hoff. Yeah, he hoffed it straight to the try line.
He certainly did. Okay, good name for a Bronco. He's got some hoffs. We'll take a break and be back with more out of Lang Park.
What makes world champion surfer Barton Lynch feel good?
Nothing's better than being out in the surf and watching the sunrise with your mates. You know, sitting out there, getting that perfect set wave, that's a feeling you can't replace that one. Surfing a 20-foot swell and surviving, that feels great. I'll tell you what feels really good. That's an ice-cold Tooheys after a hard day surfing. Nothing beats it.
Tooheys Draft. Real taste, real beer.
Zorba, there's been some incredible deals at Auto Village Holden during their hail damage sale.
You said it, Holly.
And here's more. A sporty twin-cam Nova SLX hatch with power steering and slight hail damage was $18,799. Now it's just $12,990 plus on-road costs.
Or save over $5,500 on an Apollo 5-speed wagon. Now just $13,490 plus on-road costs.
That's stock number 863 and 825 Auto Village Holden at 266 Hume Highway, Cabramatta.
Hi, I'm Peter Sterling. When I'm not playing halfback for the Parramatta Eels, I'll be joining Hollywood, Zorba and the rest of the world of football team here on 2GB News Talk 873.
Oh, that was a great pass. The big fella's made a lot of yardage in terms of metres gained.
He set up a good play, and the fullback done the rest.
Could be an upset, son.
Yeah, looks like I'm going to score.
Oh, no, you can't score unless you're playing.
I am.
All right, I see you've made a financial and monetary investment with Footy Tab and look like securing a rewarding dividend.
Nah, I just had a punt because it's good fun.
Oh, so I guess you could say verbally that with Footy Tab you get more kicks out of the footy.
You're done good.
Older than time. A game of skills. The ultimate test. Backgammon. The best players from Australia and the world meet at the Hyatt Kingsgate, Sydney from April 20 to 25 for the 1990 Qantas Australian Open Backgammon Championships. Meet the current world backgammon champion Joe Russell from California and don't miss the excitement of the Kalman Trading World Team Challenge. There are fabulous prizes to be won, including magnificent Bohemia Crystal trophies and overseas trips flying Qantas and Air Vanuatu with accommodation at Pan Pacific Hotels. For complete details, phone 955 7726. The Qantas Australian Open Backgammon Championships, proudly supported by 2GB News Talk 873. You're listening to 2GB's World of Football. Now it's back to Zorba, Hollywood and the panel.
Welcome back to Lang Park in Brisbane. Peter Sterling with us for a little while longer, and Pete will be back on World of Football over the weekend. Warren Ryan will be joining us tomorrow again at the Belmore Sports Ground. Warren, that should be a heck of a game between Canterbury and Cronulla.
Well, it will be, and Peter and I were just chatting in the break. Actually, we've got Brian Satley, the Balmain coordinator, here with us too, and he points one thing out about the game today, just before we talk about the Cronulla one, that you interviewed the sideline interview with the hooker, Brooke Kennedy, that very likely he will not be playing dummy half, that it'll be Carter and possibly a little bit of Alexander, but probably Carter. So I'll be surprised if we don't see that take place, and Sats reckons that'll be on. But
yeah, it'll be interesting that, because it's amazing this weekend. I don't know whether it's just the flavour of the weekend, but there are, second rowers and locks that have been thrust into that hooking position. It makes it look pretty good for you guys when you've got a player like Benny Elias doing the job for you fellas.
It's very difficult to create a dummy half or a good one overnight, and I just don't know that Brooke Kennedy, I agree with Brian that Brooke Kennedy won't be doing too much dummy half work. He'd create the extra forward. I think it's a 6-man assault at them. And probably Carter at dummy half feeding them and making a break every now and again himself from the dummy half position.
Yeah, I think we're underplaying the hooking spot. We've got Brooke Kennedy today for Penrith, Ray Herring for Brisbane, Glenn Ryan for Manly, and, the specialist hookers are really being phased out a lot by some clubs. I must say, I don't agree with that. I think that a specialist hooker, dummy half, is still one of the vital members of a rugby league side at the level that we're talking about.
I think the key point, Peter, is the dummy half play. We know that you can get away with a makeshift hooker in the scrums because the halfback's probably the most important person when we go to the scrum base. But the dummy half role, and there's so many play the balls in a game that the very basis of the game, or the focal point of the whole game, is the dummy half play. And you've got to be a specialist to do that well.
Peter, your view on that?
Well, I think if you take Roy Simmons or Ben Elias out of their respective sides, then in a long way you've closed down a lot of their certainly their attack, and as Warren said, that is the focal point of the whole game. So, I'm sure that you must struggle if you haven't got a bloke in there who has at least had some experience in the past, and who has isn't adequate at the job, because it just means that your whole attack is going to struggle to function properly.
Yeah, it beats me, Pete. I mean, I think everybody should be able to play dummy half, but as you know, they can't. And as Warren knows as a coach, some players indeed take a step out of the dummy half position before they pass the ball, which means the first player off the ruck is going to get creamed because it's coming that much slower.
Well, that's right. Apart from taking a step, even guys who stand up to throw the ball, it'll take a yard off the halfback. It'll take 2 off the 5'8". By the time the ball's out to the centres, they're probably lacking 5 yards that they should have had with some good quick service. So, I know if I was forced to play a full game at dummy half, then I would struggle, and I do have the football in my hands quite a bit through a game of rugby league, so it's not an easy task.
Warren, it was very noticeable last week with the North Sydney side. I remember a couple of times, Peter would too, that Billy Moore and Farley came into the dummy half role, which is a specialist they had there in Tony Ray, and on each of those couple of occasions, the back of the ruck play fell down because Ray's expertise weren't there, so the specialist has to be in that position.
There was a comment put to me one night at training by a forward, and I thought pretty long about it too. He said that everybody in the pack, or even in the team, should at a ball session go and play dummy half for a while, and just to realise what the calls were, and for greater cohesion in the side. It's awfully difficult to have a bloke thrown in there and have him totally conversant at a click of the fingers with every call that's made. So
wingers are the worst, aren't they? I mean, they go in there and they hurl a pass at 1,000,000 miles an hour to the first bloke off the ruck. A lot of the wingers really need to brush up on their dummy half play.
Well, they get in there. A lot of them run from dummy half. I suppose that's not such a big problem. But when they start to throw passes, some of these players, you're throwing it from the ground. It's a different pass altogether from the one you're doing customarily, and anything can happen. They can throw it at the bloke's ankles or shins, or hit him like a bullet between the eyes with it. The forward's trying to take it up, and he gets bowled out with a ball that hits him at 100 mile an hour. Those sort of errors can cost you a game of football.
I suppose the best way to solve that, if it was possible, and they could still do the job apart from being dummy half, Canberra's got the ideal situation with Wayne Collins and Steve Walters when both of them are in the side.
A good player, that Wayne Collins.
Oh, yeah.
He's got to be considered for the countryside when it's selected too.
Good dummy half too,
His
Warren.
name will come into contention, I'm sure.
Okay, then, Tony Peters, our sideline eye's got a very special guest on the sideline. Tony.
Yes, thanks, Pete. I've got the Brisbane skipper, Gene Miles, with me. Well, Gino, fortunately for the Broncos, the skipper's back today. How's the hamstring?
Yeah, it's quite good. I've had a lot of physiotherapy over the last week, and it's just one of those unfortunate things that happened at training, and I've had a good 10 days to get it right, and it's quite okay now.
Gino, the last 2 seasons, the Broncos have started off like a house on fire. Very quick, rapid-fire starts, and halfway through the premiership, you blokes are usually sitting on top. It's been a much slower start this year. Is it deliberate?
Oh, no, it's definitely not deliberate. We've gone out to win every game, but unfortunately we didn't get the start we wanted. We had a draw with West, and then we had a win, and then we had a loss. So, I think the competition's evening out a hell of a lot lately, and we're pretty happy where we are. We're still sitting equal third, and hopefully a win today will put us maybe in second spot.
You've obviously had your share of injury worries. You've lost Wally for a while, and now Kerrod Wallace is out today. That's a huge blow to you. Yeah, it sure is. Kerrod's been our best player, there's no doubt. That over the 4 games that we have played, he's certainly been our best player, and we've lost Sam also. So we've got a fair side sitting on the sideline too. So we're looking forward to getting those guys back on the paddock, because it takes more than probably 13 guys to win a premiership. And we're gradually getting back to our best. With Andrew coming back into the side again today, and Sam maybe in a couple of weeks. Gene, Penrith have made no secret of how they're going to play this match today. Obviously, they're going to take a leaf out of the Balmain Tigers book. They've got that monster pack of forwards. Obviously, they're going to come pouring up the middle, but I guess that's no secret to you guys, is it? No, well, that's obviously their strength, and they'll play to their strength. As you said, they are a very big pack and a very aggressive pack, but
we've been quite happy with the way our pack's been performing over the last 4 to 5 weeks, and it all looks to be a great battle in the forwards, and hopefully we can get going forward and use those backs that there has been a lot of talk about, but we haven't been attacking as much as we'd like to.
I'm glad you mentioned the forwards. Are you surprised at the amount of criticism that the Bronco forwards tend to receive from the media and I guess other clubs in the competition?
Yeah, well, it does surprise me though. Every time we drop a match or draw a match, it's through our forwards. So, we set out to rectify that in the off-season. I think our defence has picked up a hell of a lot. We've only had a few tries scored against us, and the rest of them been by bombs. So that's got to say something for the hard work we put in the off-season.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear that the young Manly forwards, most of them fairly young and rookish, sort of took on a little bit more than they could chew last week in terms of verbal exchanges with the Broncos. Were you surprised at that type of thing?
Yeah, well, that does surprise me. Those guys you're talking about would probably have a handful of first-grade games between them, but. That's the way they like to approach the game, and that certainly didn't affect our guys. We just went out there to play our style of football, which is controlled aggression in the forwards, and as I said before, hopefully give those backs some room.
Gino, State of Origin matches are just round the corner, and at this stage there's no Gene Miles looming for the Broncos. For the Queensland side. What are your thoughts on State of Origin matches being played in Queensland? Only one match this year compared to the usual two, and one in Victoria.
Well, I think it was New South Wales' turn to have 2 home games this year, so we're definitely at an advantage there with only one game at the footy stadium. But it's going to be a very different game in Melbourne, and I just hope that the Melbourne crowd get behind it, and I'm sure the Queensland people will get behind it in Queensland. I'm sure the New South Wales people will get behind it at the stadium. So the series is looking even better and bigger than ever, and I'm pretty sure that Jack Gibson will be out to revenge his 3-0 defeat last year.
The talk is that the Victorians are going to be 100% behind the Queenslanders.
Well, there are a lot of expatriates in Melbourne from Queensland, so they are very sporting-minded people in Melbourne, and I'm pretty sure they'll support the game, and let's just hope there's a lot of Queensland support there.
Gino, on a more serious note, how do you rate this Penrith side? They've obviously thrived under the new coach Phil Gould, a big monster pack of forwards, some very classy backs, 2 young kids at the scrum base, a very enterprising side.
Yeah, it sure is. I rate them with Canberra. I think they're going to be the second hardest side to beat in the competition. And as you said, the monster forward pack. If they get going forward and they get their young halves going, and Brandy coming in at fullback, they're a very dangerous outfit. So, we've got a lot of respect for them, and in the same total, we're going all right ourselves. So, as I said before, it's going to be a great game.
Both sides only got makeshift hookers.
Yeah, that's a bit of a surprise with the former Bronco Brooke Kennedy going into hooking position, but. He had a fair point to prove in the Channel 10 Challenge Cup, and he went out there full of aggression, and we got into a bit of strife there. But our hooker Ray Herring, he's been a very good player for our reserve grade over the last couple of years, and he certainly won't let us down.
Gino, thanks for talking to me. Good luck today. Back to you, Pete.
Thanks very much, Tony Peters. Gene Miles there, and Gino certainly very much a diplomat and handles a microphone just great. Gene Miles. Okay, Peter Sterling's got a couple of people on the line that want to talk to him, and he can get those done right now because he's got another commitment this afternoon. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Pete.
Yes, mate. Go ahead.
I've just been watching Parramatta a couple of times this season, and the performances haven't been great, and I'd like to know if they're poor or something, because their future doesn't seem that good with Peter Sterling, yourself, and Brett Kenny really the mainstay of the Eels team. And I want to know where Parramatta are going to go when you leave the club with Brett Kenny.
Mate, I think that you're totally wrong when you say the future of the club doesn't look good at all. I think if you have a look through the side that's taking the field against Newcastle tomorrow, with the likes of Ericsson, Barnes, the youngster in reserve grade called Jason Bell, who could be anything.
Jason Bell's good, I'll agree with that. But
mate, we have got some sensational talent there. The thing is that, the difficult part in this game is going from being an exciting youngster to a seasoned regular first grader in a short period of time. Now, maybe we haven't had that turnover we'd have liked, but really I think if you have a look through our club situation at the moment, we have some of the most exciting talent around that any club could boast.
It's also the forwards I'm worried about. I've been watching them, and I myself aren't a Parramatta supporter, but I've watched them, and their forwards don't seem to really be going forward.
Well, this may sound a little bit funny, and it may be a bit double Dutch, especially if you have watched our performances. I don't think we're playing that bad. I think we're playing dumb, but I don't think we're playing that poorly. Now, if we can just turn around some of that dumbness, we're going to be going from losing football games to being a Final 5 contender. I've got no doubt that we have a side capable of making the 5 this year. If you do make the 5, then, that's a different ball game again. You don't know what happens at that end. But I think, looking through, I would not be disappointed with what we've got in the club, certainly talent-wise, and so much youth there. And I don't think there's anyone better than a bloke like Michael Cronin to bring that along. So.
Yeah, it's just that, I've watched the games, and even last year I watched a lot of Parramatta games, and you controlled the shots most of the time when you're on the field, and there just doesn't seem to be a great deal of organisation when you're not there.
Well, the funny thing is maybe we've got into a little bit of a trap there where I'm probably getting the ball too much. I believed if I was coaching a side to play Parramatta, I would maybe stack the defence on the side that I am standing because I probably get the ball too much. Now, if we can get into a situation where I get the ball, say, 60% of the time and it goes 40% the other way, I think we can put a bit more pressure on opposition defences. But that's something we have to work out. So, that will come. Don't give up on us. I
haven't given up on you. I'm myself a West supporter, and also I was interested in the article you wrote on Jason Taylor. I'm not being critical, but I can't agree with some of the points you made. I don't really believe that he's that great, and people are making him out to be another you. And
Well, I'll give the kid a rap on what I saw last week.
Yeah.
I thought he played well. I thought there were signs there that shows that he's got a very good future in the game.
Well, he can certainly kick goals, and that's what they've needed for so long.
Well, that's going to be a plus for them as well. But he's come out of a good nursery. He was the Commonwealth Bank Cup Player of the Year, and that puts him in good company. I think the kid's got a future, and I think that now the ball is in his court as to what he does with it. And I think that from what we saw last week, he's certainly got a great framework to build on. So, but stay with us.
Thanks very much for your call. I think he was going to ask you, Sturlo, what are you having for dinner?
Well,
okay.
I can get him a game if he wants.
Okay, one more for Sturlo. Good afternoon. Hello? Yeah.
Peter Sterling, please.
Yes. Hello.
Can you tell me what's happened to Peter Wynn, David Woods, mate, please?
Peter Wynn, I think you will see him back on the paddock next week. He's had a neck problem, and certainly with him coming back into the side and contention for a first-grade spot, he's going to put some pressure on some of our forwards.
Oh, that's good.
I think we've probably lacked a little bit of the kind of enthusiasm that Peter Wynn does instill in the side. And David Woods was fortunate enough not to have to go an operation. It was a knee problem, but he's undergone an extensive physiotherapy campaign, and I think that David is looking to be back in a couple of weeks, and that's going to be a great plus for the club as well, because I know that the way that he is highly rated within our group out there.
Also, mate, can you tell me what happened to a couple of front row forwards you had last year by the name of Rod Slater and Jimmy Stafford?
Well, Rod Slater has gone back to the country. Both players you're talking about, again, were dogged by certainly bad luck in the injury department. Rod has gone back and I think is looking after the farm in Young, whereas Jimmy Stafford, I'm not sure if he's retired, but he had an Achilles problem and was advised to have at least 12 months out of the game, and I suppose that Jim will be looking to weigh up his football future at the end of this season. But, both players won't be at the club this season.
Okay, thanks very much for your call, and Sturlo, we look forward to talking to you on Monday at Leichhardt Oval. Good luck tomorrow at Newcastle. I don't envy you at all.
Well, it won't be luck that wins us the game, Peter. Thanks anyway, but we've got a job to do. As I said, it's a good test for us. If we play well enough, we'll win the football game. If not, we've got plenty of homework to do, but we'll turn up anyway.
And you'll see Mr. Ryan next Saturday.
I shall see Mr. Ryan next Saturday, and I'll talk to you guys on Monday, and good luck with the call this afternoon. Should be a great match.
Okay, thanks, Peter Sterling. Here at Lang Park in Brisbane, it's 4 points all. Penrith and the Broncos in a very fiery reserve grade game. Warren Ryan, Peter Peters, Greg Hartley and Alan Clarkson to take you through the rest of the afternoon on 2GB's World of Football. We'll be back shortly.